Alright, here we have a TC Maserati speedometer already removed from the cluster. You can see when it came out of the cluster, all you have to do is literally pull it out. It's a pin fit connector. The first step is you have to take the needle off. To do that, it's lined up at, in this case it's lined up at 0, so that's where it has to go back. It has an internal stop that keeps it right there. And if you spin it all the way up, it stops at 140. So what you do, spin it around. When it hits that internal stop, holding it by the center, keep rotating. Don't put any spin on, any twist on it whatsoever, any angle. Just keep going around and around and around, and eventually it's going to get easier and easier. And give it a little pinch, and it comes right off. The important part is that this pin is still in place. So once that's done, you can have a little parts bin so you don't lose things on the floor. Then you flip it over. What we're after are the gears underneath this motor. This is the stepper motor. It's just a magnet. There's nothing to break on this. What we're after is to take this circuit board off. This is the stepper motor. This is what drives it all. And the gears are up underneath here. So to do that, as I showed you, we took the needle off. Next we have to somehow get this face off to get to these two screws. You can go ahead and drill holes in here, but that really defeats the purpose. This acts as a light transfer, so the light comes up to the face at nighttime so you can see everything. So you really don't want to cut on this. So to get to those guys, next step would be to see if we can remove this face. And what I'm going to do is start by removing these screws. There's some washers in there, don't lose the washers. Okay, and we have one more here. This cluster, it's similar to a Dodge Chrysler, but it is slightly different. And you can take the face off. Now we can get to the gears. There's 1, 2 screws. Do not remove this motor from this circuit board. It all comes off together. They're 2 wire leads. All you have to do is just pull them off a little bit, give them room to flex. One screw out. Two screws out. Now the gears are going to be right underneath here. And apparently there's a little catch over here. So we can wiggle that out. Get that around. Now on this one, it looks like we have to be able to get to the gears. We have to take off these additional screws because they have additional wires here. So now I can take that off, and I can get down to the bottom to where I need to be here. Now as you can see, here's the broken 20-tooth gear, and you need to look in this clear housing because you can see one of the teeth is sitting right here. That has to be removed. So those come right out, and you can see on the bottom, a lot of times the secondary gear does not need to be replaced, but obviously in this case it's all eaten up. At this point, the gears are out, both gears, and you really have to look very closely in this clear housing. And if you look closely, there's actually a tooth right here, one of the blue tooths from the 20-tooth. And to get it out, I prefer to use a little razor blade. You have to get in here and you gotta pick it out. It's almost glued in there. And we remove that. There's the gear. So then you do another visual inspection. And then what you really want to do, without exception, is you want to take this to an air compressor and really blow it out. Because what you're going to find, I can also show you, up here is another tooth. And there's another one right here. And you're not going to get all those out just by visually looking. You really need to get an air compressor, because now I just dropped it in further. The smallest piece will stop this entire assembly. So the other place to look is on this gear. This is your motor. This will just pull out with your fingers. And you want to look in these teeth. And there you go. There's another tooth right in there. Another blue tooth. And that came out. So now that I've visually inspected, I'm going to take this downstairs in my shop and I'm going to take my air compressor and blow everything out thoroughly. Came back upstairs. Downstairs I have my air compressor. And what we're going to do is we have our 20 tooth gear and our 16 tooth medium pod. These are the parts that I make at Odometer Gears Limited. We're going to put them together. And we're going to just drop them right into the housing. You can see the 20 tooth rides on this inside rail. Just to make sure everything is working right, take the stepper motor out and you can rotate it and you can see the numbers turning.
Too high.
So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the new gears in there, the stepper motor back into the housing. The same way we took it apart, we're going to rotate this back over, and the pin on the motor we've got to drop into the pin of the hole of the gear. Got to find the center of the gear. Now, the other little trick with this is once that's on there,
You're too high.
once that's in there, wiggle these numbers. What that does is it makes sure the gears have seated, all the teeth have meshed. Then you can have this back plate back down. So I'm going to start my reassembly here. Don't over tighten these screws. You're just putting them into plastic, so you don't want this old plastic to break on you. Alright, now everything is straight on the face. All the extra little parts are out. Take the speedometer face. We're going to drop it back on top. Flip it over. This is our screws with our washers. We had the one here by the reset. Again, just not cranked down, just lightly snugged. And finally, the needle. The needle has a shaft and a cylinder. The shaft's here in the face and the cylinder. All it is a press fit. We're just going to line it up. Just place it on there. I'm going to use my finger. I'm going to push it down to the 0 point again. Then evenly, with both my thumbs, I'm going to gently snug it down. Not over tight. You can feel how fragile it is. And as I snugged it down, I came in lower than where I wanted it. So what I'm going to do is flip it all the way around to 140, and the same way I took it off, I'm going to go a little bit beyond that internal limit, and I'm going to see if I can get it. I'm going to rotate on its shaft and see if I can get the line upright. And there we go.